Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 30 of the News Just News weekly roundup. This is, a big milestone. Unfortunately, Anna's not here with us today, but hello, Anna, if you're watching us. Hi, Adam, for joining us.
Hello, hello, hello.
And as usual, you can read all of the stories that we're going to talk about today on our website, newsjustnews.com. Please make sure to take a look, and you'll find anything about culture, sports. There's loads about the World Cup, obviously, that's taking place right now, and politics, anything you can think of, it's there. So we are kicking off today with a fun topic. This week, just a few days ago, a new trailer came out, and that's the trailer for Shrek 5. So that's a massive cultural news, very important for our society. It had been long awaited because the latest installment before this one, so Shrek 4, came out in, 16 years ago. So a very long time. And that was the longest time, between any of those previous movies. And it is a massive thing. We know that obviously the main trio is coming back. So we have Shrek, Fiona, and Donkey coming back with the original voice actors. So with Mike Myers, Cameron Diaz, and Eddie Murphy. But then we also have new characters. And this is what I would say caught the attention a little bit more, and also what kind of represented the bridge between like an older generation of fans and a newer one, because we are finally meeting the children of Shrek and Fiona. And one of them, the only daughter, is voiced by Zendaya. And that's, probably one of the most popular actresses that you got right now working in the, cinema, TV shows. Like, she's done a lot lately, and it's quite interesting to see her in this new role. She's not featured in the trailer, so her character, which is called Felicia, is not featured in the trailer, and fans are kind of assuming that that might be because she's central to the plot. So the plot is quite under wraps still, but we know that the main trio is going to a town called Further Away, which is obviously a joke in relation to Far Away. And people are thinking that maybe she's in there because she either escaped or she got abducted, or who knows, and they are going there to save her. This is a massive story, but obviously there's going to be quite a long wait still, because the film is coming out next year on June 30th, 2027. So quite a big of a wait. Adam, are you a fan of Shrek? What do you think about this new trailer?
I feel like everyone our age adores Shrek, or they at least know the memes. Like, everyone knows Shrek. Everyone loves Shrek. I kind of remember when this. So I think it was last year, or maybe it was even like the year before, and they released a cast trailer. I think it was when they said Zendaya was playing the daughter, and because I watched that before, and because that was basically, I think the film got like the Sonic treatment. You remember when they went back and they had to redo Sonic because everyone hated the animation? I think when the Shrek cast trailer, I mean, as you were saying, Zendaya is not in this trailer, but she was featured very prominently. She was the only child actually in the cast trailer. And so people were basically like, oh, the plot is so easy to guess. Like, she's just going to go to the city. Like, she wants to get out of the way. Like, Shrek is going to be, a helicopter dad, that sort of thing. And then they did delay it. Like, the cast trailer said it was meant to be out Christmas 2026. So they've already delayed it by another 6 months. People are already guessing what have they changed the plot? Maybe. But I don't know. I think I liked Shrek 3. I didn't like Shrek 4 that much. So then I think, especially with the new animation style, there's a lot of criticism of that, because it is very different. I do think that Donkey looks different. So I think if they're trying to cash in, are they actually going for this new generation? There's the guy with the broccoli hair, one of the sons. I see people saying that. So maybe they are just going for, Gen Z, and they're trying to keep the franchise going. But I think in changing the animation, I think they have lost quite a lot of like the nostalgia value of releasing something like this.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I also agree that the main reason why it got delayed was probably that, because they received that feedback and they just went into like emergency mode and changed some stuff. I do think that's the reason why. And I do agree with you that they look different. Like Donkey and Shrek, they look like completely different characters. And that's obviously, you know, kind of like to be expected a little bit because it's been, you know, maybe like 20, 25 years since the original. So it is to be expected, a slight change, at least in the animation, but it felt very different. It felt kind of like it lost that, you know, very specific style that Shrek had. So yes, I do agree with you. And I feel like it's a bit of a double-edged sword because obviously you do receive the feedback and you are able to kind of like redirect your efforts, but also at the same time, it might be a case like this one where you had to change quite a few things. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I'm very excited about it. I'm hoping that it'll be as good as, you know, at least the first two, but I know that that's unattainable because those are just like incredible. They're never gonna get to that level. But anyway, talking about something also quite relevant that happened this week, the UK has decided to ban social media for under 16s. And Adam, will you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so I think there was sort of like rumblings, you know, will they, won't they, of the UK. The people were saying we should, and then so Keir Starmer announced, the Prime Minister said that the UK will be joining Australia and will be banning social media for under 16s. So the ban will come in 2027, and it will cover the most popular social media, so Snapchat, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. I think the YouTube one was especially controversial because, you know, what makes a social media and stuff like that. And then obviously Elon Musk's X will be a part of that. So, I mean, in the UK, for the people who don't know, we already have like ID checks on, I think it's just a blanket adult websites, let's say that. So there is sort of that infrastructure in place. And so that will just sort of be rolled out to like social media, and so that is actually causing a lot of backlash because it means, you know, even if you are an adult, you're going to have to prove that you're an adult rather than just, oh, kids can't go on it, which so there's a lot of criticism. The US has also, I mean, because they own all the social media sites, they're saying it's against freedom of speech and stuff. But, you know, this is campaigners, you know, especially parents of kids who've, you know, been bullied, or the kids have, you know, like, you know, killed themselves or been killed. I know Brianna Gay, the mother of the trans girl who was murdered, she was a very big campaigner for restrictions on children on social media. So yeah, I think we'll definitely get more details because you know, this is a very new announcement and we don't quite know how it's gonna be implemented, but yeah, we'll see.
It is a massive thing. Yeah, I find it particularly controversial in certain areas of it. Like you mentioned, for example, the YouTube one, I think it's a big one. I understand, you know, protecting kids from anything that could be harmful that can be found on X or on Instagram. Obviously, you know, that's quite relevant and it has happened before. But YouTube specifically, although it can, you know, you could find that kind of content on YouTube, it feels like such a huge thing to deprive someone of. I don't know, specifically, like I use YouTube a lot, and I feel like it's a really good like way to learn stuff as well, or, you know, to keep yourself like not only entertained but also to learn about a lot of different topics. And it seems like very, very kind of like maybe harmful to maybe not being able to access those resources, especially when you're at that age and you're like, you know, learning loads of different things about the world and about society and whatnot. So I think it's obviously, yeah, we're gonna have to see how it's gonna get implemented, but at the same time, it's quite an important thing, and it's for kids that have grown up with social media like they have. It's very difficult to kind of like be into that environment and then just not being able to access it anymore all of a sudden. I feel like for me, I don't know if that was the case for you as well, but I didn't get my phone until my first phone until I was like 10. And then when I was young, all I could watch was like TV. There was not really much more than that. And with them, like they literally grew up with it, and now they just can't access it anymore. So it feels kind of brutal. But I understand at the same time that it's done, to protect them. So yeah, it's quite a big thing, and we'll have to see how that gets implemented, like you said. Once again, just a reminder that if you'd like to read more about all of this, you can check this story and many more on our website, newsjustnews.com. And next topic that we're going to talk about again back to TV shows, so back to culture. And we have a new season of House of the Dragon coming out just this Sunday. Do you watch it, Adam? Are you a fan?
I don't, but my flatmate absolutely, she's adored Game of Thrones for however many years. She even had like an Instagram fan account of it. So
I love that. I haven't been following, I have to say, with House of the Dragon. I watched season 1, but then I haven't watched season 2, and I need to catch up before season 3 comes. But I am a huge fan of Game of Thrones up until it was good. So yeah. The TV show, at least. The books are all really good, so please read the books. But yeah, it's season 3 is coming out on Sunday, and the showrunners have promised that this season is going to be even bloodier and bolder than the previous one. And there's an article on our website that basically tried to predict, tried to kind of like put that in comparison to the 3 most shocking moments from the Game of Thrones series, which is obviously, House of the Dragon is a spin-off of Game of Thrones. And although, all of them are very shocking, number 1, I think, takes the cake, and that would be the Red Wedding. Obviously, even fans, fans knew that was going to happen, but then even people that were not fans of the show at the time when that episode came out heard about it, and it kind of like entered cultural discourse, as in like, if something is really tragic and it's really like the worst that can happen, it can be defined as a Red Wedding situation. It was a huge, massive like turning point for the show, and also for, cultural and just like TV conversation at the time. And at the time, that was probably the most shocking event, and I think that still stands as not only the most shocking event that takes place in Game of Thrones, but also in many of the shows that aired around that time. Obviously, that was the death of Robb Stark and his wife and unborn child, and also his mother, Catelyn Stark. They all get killed in the most gruesome way you can ever imagine, and it's just heartbreaking. I remember watching that episode and just like crying my eyes out while watching it. It was so insane. And I feel like it's going to be quite difficult to reach that level of, shocking moments, especially after we've been so used to Game of Thrones and what they offered us. But we'll have to see. Obviously, House of the Dragon has been very successful, and we'll have to see if they will manage to recreate such like visceral scenes like that one. Also, because I feel like fans are going to base themselves on the book. In this case, with Game of Thrones, up to a certain point, they were following the books, and then after a certain point, they had to kind of like invent based on the directions of George R.R. Martin, the author of the books. Whereas with this, we have the story set, so fans can already kind of like expect what's going to happen, and that also changes a little bit how the season is going to be received, I feel. But yeah, it's going to be quite interesting. I have to catch up and then watch the season to see if they they kept the promise. And then yeah, that's going to be quite interesting. Would you ever consider getting into Adam, or do you feel like it's not really your genre because it's fantasy?
I feel like it's one of them. I mean, maybe House of Dragon, yeah, but I feel like Game of Thrones in general, it's like when they cancel a series partway through. Because it's like now I know that the final, like, people hate the final. Is it like the final episode or the final season? I mean, that was the one that went, sort of off the script. They had to invent it. So it's like, why would I start it if I know I'm just gonna hate it at the end? I mean, maybe House of Dragon, but then I feel like this, because the storyline sort of goes back into yeah, because it's a prequel, it sort of goes back into the Game of Thrones. It's yeah, I don't know. There is that tension, but I mean, the season 3, the fact that like they had all of the backlash from the from Game of Thrones, and then now this series is doing successful. I think that is really good. They brought it back. I mean, maybe it's because they are following the books again.
Yes.
But I mean, have they ever gone off? Have they like changed a little bit from the books already on in this series?
I'm not sure because, like I said, I only watched season 1, and so the story with the House of the Dragon is based on the Targaryen family, and I'm not a big fan of them in general. Like they're my least favorite family in the whole saga. So I haven't read the book for that. But I know that they've kind of been more faithful to the source material because also George R. Martin, up until this point at least, he's been quite involved with the production of this one. Whereas with Game of Thrones, he wrote 5 books, and I think the seasons kind of like start taking their own, direction quite early on. I feel like the first 4 seasons were very faithful to the original material, but then from like season 5 onwards, they kind of just like started changing things to get closer to like what fans wanted, or to make the story easier as well, because there's tons of characters and tons of chapters and tons of storylines. And I feel that's when it went downhill, and the fallout between the author and the writers was quite public. And so, yeah, I understand what you mean. Like, it would be interesting to watch just because it's a good show until season 4, maybe season 5, some of it. But then after that, it just kind of gets quite ridiculous, if that's a word. Yeah. But it is a good story. So if anything, I would suggest you get into the books, and hopefully we'll get like the conclusion of it, the last 2 books, which was still, we've been waiting for like 15 years now. So yeah, we'll see. But so we are towards the end of the episode, and we're going to talk about something really fun now. So there's been a peculiar bag that's been trying to like get sold. Tell us everything about it.
Yeah, I mean, as always, I always come with the wild card stories, and it's kind of an animal. So a T-Rex bag. So it's not a bag that's shaped like a T-Rex. It is like a leather bag, except the leather is actual T-Rex skin, which is crazy. It sounds like sci-fi. It's like Jurassic. It's a Jurassic Park bag. So I mean, you'd think more people want it, but this was in the headlines recently because it flopped at auction. People thought they were aiming for $500,000 and they only got $150,000. And so yeah, last week in a Paris auction, it flopped. And but so yeah, as I was saying, this is actual real T-Rex. So what they've done is like they've taken the T-Rex DNA that we have, and they've like extracted it, and then I think the same kind of way, like how they make fake meat, like lab grown meat. I think they've done that, but in order to make the skin of the T-Rex, and then they've made it into a bag, so it is 100% T-Rex, which is it's so balmy.
It's insane. I can't imagine wearing a bag and knowing that it's made out of T-Rex skin. It's just insane.
Yeah, but it looks like normal leather as well. Like you could just wear that bag.
I wonder how it would feel, because like I feel like the texture of it would be kind of like crocodile.
Yeah,
I don't know what to expect, because obviously, yeah, like you mentioned, the aspect looks kind of like normal leather, but then I don't know, it would just feel very weird. To be honest, it surprised me the fact that it didn't get sold. I mean, obviously, 500,000 is a big, it's a big expense for a bag in general. So maybe if it was a little bit lower, but it surprised me that it wasn't more successful, because the idea is just crazy, and rich people love crazy ideas. Like they do this random stuff. So it really surprised me that. But I mean, would you have got it if you got the money?
I probably would have. Maybe it was the style of the bag. Maybe if it maybe what about a tote bag? I feel like tote bags are so in nowadays. Maybe if it was like a tote bag.
Yeah,
then
it would have fit better.
people say dinosaurs were meant to be fluffy, so like they're furry even, like like chickens and stuff. So maybe it's because it was too like amphibian and stuff. Maybe if they did a furry one, like a furry dinosaur.
Maybe that would have been nicer. I don't know. I just the idea freaks me out a little bit. I can't really imagine it. Well, thank you for this, pearl of a story for today. And thank you for being here. Once again, you can read everything on our website. So please head to newsjustnews.com. And thank you for watching us. And we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye, everyone.